What's going on, guys? Welcome into the program here. Yeah, baby.
2 minutes till broadcast.
All right, I think we are up and ready to go. What do you think? We're trying to get all the live streams going here for you, so welcome into what is today, Wednesday? I think. I don't know. Today's been a blur. I have a conspiracy theory if you want to hear me out. If you want to hear my thoughts on this, I have a theory. So I've been dealing with our local radio station here on the local front with the issue of CBS News. And our network national news that we get from CBS has not been working the last couple of days because the company got hacked. Oh yeah, CBS News, national CBS News broadcast, had a hack that corrupted their national satellite distribution stuff to where we're not getting it on the local front. That also coincidentally seems to be the same news source that broke the Hunter Biden document story. Very interesting, isn't it? Quite fascinating.
1 minute till broadcast.
Could be no correlation, but the things that make you go, because now the media is having to cover this and deal with it, and they don't want to. All right, we got the live streams up and going. Coming up on the program today, Congressman Frank Lucas from the 3rd District of Oklahoma. Have him on the program today. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. You're not going to want to miss that conversation. Also, we have Kevin McCarthy, who just got out of his meeting with Joe Biden on the debt ceiling.
30 seconds till broadcast.
And he spoke just a few minutes ago. We'll play some of that audio along with some other issues as well. So, there we go. Got a lot to get to today. Like it out, share it out, leave a comment on the social media. Let's have some fun for the middle of the week. Hang tight.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, it is. Welcome into the program. It is the middle of the week, and what a wild, crazy, radical day it's been, man. Totally radical. We'll get to a lot of information today. Holy cow, do you feel better that the economy is like in the tank right now and that you have people lying to you saying that it's going to be okay? Oh, don't worry. Everything's working out. Everything's great. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Holy cow, man. I've never been lied to so much in my entire life. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station. We are all over the country, radio, TV, live streaming, and podcasting, however you watch or listen to us. We love you to death. Welcome aboard your Millennial General reporting for duty. Bottom of the hour, we have Congressman Frank Lucas from the 3rd District of Oklahoma, my southern neighbor right here in the state of Kansas where I'm hailing from. We'll have him on the program. He is on a few different committees. He's on the Ag Committee, which means the inflation rates, prices of food, prices of eggs and meat. We'll talk with him about that, what they're doing with the Farm Bill for 2023. Also, this is a really cool one. He's the chairman of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. What do they do on that one? And yes, of course, I ask him about civilization on Mars, about trips to the moon, and about UFOs and aliens. Why? Because I'm just that kind of guy. So we'll have that fun conversation with him at the bottom of the hour. But first, I want to get into what's trending, obviously, here. This happened just moments ago.
What's trending today?
As today was the big day. Now, I want to warn you that the media, we predicted this, obviously, because it's very predictable from the mainstream media. The doom and gloom, the crazy negative rhetoric of the debt ceiling, raising the debt ceiling, the Biden administration saying they're unwilling to compromise on cutting any type of spending. We just need, obviously, the debt ceiling to be raised without question, even though we are already at a 100% cap of debt compared to our GDP. That's an insane level right now. Kevin McCarthy and President Biden just speaking a while ago, and just moments ago before the program actually started, Kevin McCarthy came out, took some Q&A from the media, and I want to get your thoughts on whether you actually think that this is encouraging or not encouraging from Kevin McCarthy. Let's put it that way.
Look, I think the president and I have talked about a lot of different ideas, and we'll work to see if we can come to an agreement. Look, I know you all have a job to do, but I don't think we'll come to an agreement if I negotiate with you. I think the respectful way to do it is to talk to the president as we did right now for more than an hour. We both walked away. We have different perspectives, but we both laid out some of our vision of where we'd want to get to. And I believe after laying both of out, I can see where we can find common ground. I think the American public would appreciate that. And I've been very clear. The current path we're on, we cannot sustain. We got to change the trajectory to put ourselves on a path to balance. How we get there will be our discussions.
This may just be me, but doesn't make me optimistic about the future of this conversation with the debt ceiling. That he's optimistic that they have different opinions, but he's optimistic that we can find common ground. Here's the thing. The only common ground that I care about, and I know this may be extreme, this may be radical, it shouldn't be because of where we're at and how far we've come in this nation. It shouldn't be radical, but apparently this is in today's times, that the only common ground I want is saying we are not raising the debt ceiling a penny. Figure out how to pay your damn bills with the revenue that's coming in right now without going further into debt. Period. End of story. Anything beyond that is a compromise that Republicans should not and will not, at least hopefully, make in this conversation. The rhetoric from the mainstream media has gone absolutely bonkers with CNN, MSNBC, all these other ones saying, which, get this is exactly the way we predicted it, is that it's Kevin McCarthy's fault if we shut down the government or if we default on any payments from the federal government. It's the fault of Kevin McCarthy for not just openly raising the debt ceiling without question. It's his fault. Now, there are 4 takeaways and observations before we go into the details of this. There are 4 observations during this entire discussion over the last few weeks regarding the debt ceiling and the U.S. hitting its debt cap at 100% of the federal GDP. There are 4 takeaways. Number 1 is the Biden administration continues to openly say publicly to their end that they're not compromising. So the whole conversation that Kevin McCarthy had with Joe Biden, I'm curious on what was said in that conversation, because Joe Biden's openly said, Karine Jean-Pierre, the communications director, has openly said they are unwilling to compromise. Period. End of story. Raise the debt ceiling or it's your fault, which we knew was going to happen. And I don't think Republicans were prepared for this debate to come this early on in the game, although I think it's good because all eyes are still focused right now on Kevin McCarthy, and the Republicans were watching you. That's observation number 1. Number 2, as expected, the media is blaming the GOP. Imagine this. Barack Obama, probably Barack Obama behind the scenes, Joe Biden is not compromising. Period. End of story. Raise the debt ceiling without question. We're not cutting spending at all. No compromise. Then the media turns around with their nice little spin game and says, Kevin McCarthy is unwilling to compromise in the conversations with Joe Biden. Hold on here. Wait, what? Because remember, according to Democrats, compromise means Republicans give up what you believe in because you just have to do what Democrats believe in, which is why in the last 20-ish years, maybe even less than that, we've seen the drastic change from capping our debt at 40% of the GDP to now at 100% of the GDP. Ted Cruz, along with Rand Paul, they held a press conference just a couple days ago, laying that out beautifully on exactly where we're at today compared to just a few years ago.
Over the past 2 decades, Congress has been bankrupting our nation. You go back to the year 2000, our national debt was $5 trillion. That sounds like a wildly different world than where we are today, because it was a wildly different world. Think about that for a moment. 42 presidents over the course of more than 2 centuries had built up a total debt of $5 trillion. Then a Republican came into office, George W. Bush. And over the next 8 years, under a Republican president, our national debt went from $5 trillion to $10 trillion. We doubled the national debt in just 8 years. Then a Democrat came into office, Barack Obama. And over the next 8 years, the national debt doubled yet again, going from 10 trillion to 20 trillion. Now pause and reflect on that. 42 presidents over 2 centuries build 5 trillion in debt. 2 presidents, one Republican and one Democrat, over just 16 years quadrupled our national debt. And now over the last 6 years, again with a Republican president and a Democrat president, we've seen national debt grow from 20 trillion to $31.5 trillion. This is unsustainable.
It's absolutely unsustainable. Which is why, and again, I know these are a lot of numbers, and for most people listening, it kind of glosses over with you trying to comprehend the amount of money that's being spent right now. Just know that right now, as we speak, without even raising the debt ceiling right now, we could take every single penny from every man, woman, and child knocking on your doors, going all Nazi style of barging in, trying to steal every penny that you have saved underneath your mattress. If we took every single penny and every bit of value from the consumer private market, that would barely cover the debt that we have right now. Now, the good news is that with the revenue coming in on a month-by-month basis, the lies from the left side of the aisle of saying that we're going to default on our debt and it would be the first time, it would be a travesty to the entire globe. That's an absolute lie. Again, Ted Cruz spoke a little bit later on regarding that issue, saying that's not going to happen.
Let me be absolutely clear and unequivocal. The United States of America should never, ever, ever default on its debt. And whether or not the debt ceiling is raised immediately, the United States will not default on its debt. Why? Because revenue that comes in each month exceeds the interest payments that are owed. There is more than sufficient revenue coming in to ensure we never default on the debt. And every one of us supports legislation I call the Default Prevention Act, to put that in statute, to make clear the chances of a default are 0.00%.
Now, sounds great. You know, by the way, just a thought here as well for the fourth point of observation. You know, one individual who's been extremely silent during this entire conversation, hasn't made a peep during the entire debt ceiling conversation from the Senate side, would be Mitch McConnell, the Republican minority leader. Kevin McCarthy, obviously the front and center because he's the one that could block it. Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, they're speaking out from the Republican side on the Senate. You would think that the Republican leader from the Senate side would actually be speaking out as well, saying, hey, we stand with Kevin McCarthy. We're not going to vote. We're going to make sure the Republicans are whipped into voting against any type of debt ceiling increase. You realize that we haven't heard a single word from our Republican fearless leader, Mr. Mitch McConnell, on the Republican side in the Senate, because this bill that they're trying to talk about, trying to make sure that we appropriate the money that comes in on a monthly basis to cover the debts if necessary, put all the other spending on pause with other investments, and I use investments in air quotes for our radio listeners, that we would put those on pause to make sure we cover these debts. That's being stopped. Why isn't that going through?
The reason the Default Prevention Act hasn't been passed is the Democrats block it.
Oh. Oh, that's right. So the default prevention, the political game that's being played right now, obviously, because Democrats love to play political games and Republicans, but let's just focus on the big government elites right now who don't give a crap about the economy and want to destroy it. They're saying we're going to default on spending and default on our debt because we don't raise the debt ceiling. We try to put in place a priority saying that we will never, ever, 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 ever default on the spending for the government, so that way we don't default on our debts. And then they block that so they can use that as a political game to say, hey, look, Republicans want to default on the debt because they don't want to raise the debt ceiling, because there's a very simple, easy fix to this. So don't buy the rhetoric. CNN has a headline right now, why the U.S. economy could fall prey to McCarthy's ambitions. McCarthy's ambitions. I'm pretty sure that McCarthy's out there, rightfully so, and he needs to do more on the PR front other than just going to the media after walking out of the White House. He needs to be out there even more so saying, I'm willing to compromise and find common ground, which I don't think he needs to be saying in the first place. He needs to be saying, we're not raising the debt ceiling, period, end of story. You're coming to our ground in our turf to figure out how to make sure to compensate for the cap in spending, so figure it out and start reallocating money somewhere. That needs to be his real conversation. But he's not. He's saying, I'm willing to compromise and find common ground, while Joe Biden says, I'm unwilling to find common ground. You need to raise the debt ceiling, period, end of story. And the headline from the mainstream media, why the U.S. economy could fall prey to McCarthy's ambitions. CNN says President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy talked on Wednesday about more than the Washington power game. If the two most important leaders in Washington can't agree to lift the debt ceiling, no other opportunity, no other conversation. If they can't agree to raise the debt ceiling, period, end of story, what the Democrats want, by the time the Treasury runs out of money to pay its debts, the United States, the world's fabled economic safe haven, could go into default. And every American could be hurt by the ultimatum demonstration on how partisan politics, including growing conservative extremism, is threatening the country's ability to govern itself and be doomed into a self-inflicted disaster. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the news reporting of 2023 and journalism today. There is no other conversation to be had. There's no other negotiation to be had, even though we've doubled the amount of debt we've seen over the last 20 years over and over and over again. We have to raise it, or people could get hurt, and that shows partisan politics, a.k.a. you're not getting along with the Democrat agenda and just going full board whatever we want because we're the spoiled, rotten brats that need a spanking and timeout in their rooms, because I'm sick of this crap.
Is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends, or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. I'm getting I'm getting messages during the social media. Andy, did you just say they need to be spanked and sent to the room? Yeah, Democrats are, again, like children. The elites, the government elites, they're like children. They want everything or else they throw their temper tantrum. That's why Biden says, I want all the candy right now, and you have to increase my candy consumption, or else it's all your fault, and I'm going to throw a temper tantrum and blame it on you. Now, Andy, do you really believe in spanking? That's not the point. If that's what you want to focus on, then fine, okay, whatever. Doesn't work on my daughter. We tried that when she was little once, and she just giggled. So I'm like, you know what? Not the best. Not the best way to handle that. Others can believe or not believe in spanking in some way, shape, or form. Not the conversation we're going to and going down it right now. With the debt ceiling talks, you know what needs to happen? Because I'm getting less and less optimistic about this conversation, and I think more individuals are as well. We voted Republicans in to say, cut the damn spending. Cut spending. And it's like, cut spending, we want instant spending cuts right now. Not down long-term, down the road, we're going to cut it by 2%. You know what's going to happen here is that Kevin McCarthy is going to come into this deal. They're going to make a political deal behind closed doors, which kind of goes against the whole idea of transparency, which is another reason why people elected Republicans into the House of Representatives, that they're going to go into this conversation and say, we're going to cut something, we're going to cut a couple $1 million, couple $100 million over a 10-year span to say that we did some cuts, we did something productive while you raise the debt ceiling. Happy little compromise. Republicans and Kevin McCarthy are going to come back out onto the media and say, look, we did it. We were able to cut some spending. We're able to get fiscally responsible. We're going to be back on track. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to go ahead and raise the debt ceiling for these guys again to get us through the end of the year. And I'm here to tell you that I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. For those of us that are dorks that like to talk about economic issues, that realize the economy is like the number one most important issue right now, because we can't talk about other flavorful political discussions. We can't have social discussions. We don't have the opportunity to discuss anything else unless we have an economy that allows us to live our lives and do our daily damn jobs. That we're the ones that voted you in office to say, stop. Right now, stop. Not a penny more. Any bill that allows the debt ceiling a single penny higher right now needs to be voted no against by all Republicans. I don't care if the government shuts down. We will reappropriate the money to go towards our debt so we do not default in other programs that are funded by the government, and other agencies can be on hold. They can go on furlough. They can shut down. I really don't give a damn. I really don't care. What really needs to happen is we need to have a bill that reappropriates the money, that says that there's a new law that unlawful spending for more than the annual government income, the GDP. We need to have a law. We used to have a law that says it was capped at 40%. Now we apparently are at 100%, wanting to go up to 130, 140% of the GDP, and that's unsustainable. And no, there should be a constitutional law that says even if you don't pass a federal budget, like you have not done since the Barack Obama era of 2012, since you have not been able to pass those, that worst case, you can never spend more than 100% of the GDP. Because you want to talk about high prices? You want to talk about the high inflation, the just randomly printing of massive amounts of money? That's what's causing it, regardless of whatever the Biden administration says. However, the media, again, trying to find their out while they're trying to play a hard line of, oh, we're willing to compromise if you just do everything we do. They're trying to find an out with that, with another headline from ABC saying that the reason we have high inflation rates right now is because of not the government, but corporations. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The extreme conservative Republicanism, which they blame in the CNN report right now, the extremism of trying to be fiscally responsible, and corporations on why prices are so high and why people are demanding prices to be lowered, because corporations are jacking up the prices for goods. Let me tell you something. We still have, whether we like it or not, or whether some like it or not, we still have a supply-demand economy for the most part, which means if prices are too high for a good, stop buying the product. Because if you continue to buy it at that high rate, they think they can get away with it at that high rate, and then we never fix anything. Stop buying it. And then when it sits on the shelves, the company realizes they have to lower the price to a sale to get rid of the product to generate more. What a concept.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government censorship and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast, become your own voice of reason, and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the voice of reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world, and it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, you know, objects out in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for the, I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all 3 books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. You can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. You really need someone to guide you through them.
That, plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit, by no means. However, you know, we talked about it, and I thought, you know, our ancestors were so smart. They know, like, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so like plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
My leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Right.
dude, your leg is still severely broken. You just can't feel anything.
yeah. And it's like, so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, you know, just
Mentally and physically.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know, but there's other remedies out there. And everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured.
We're all
now.
getting cured right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, you know, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website, where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out with us today. As always, it is a Wednesday for the middle of the week, and great to have you along for the ride. Really happy to have this guy back on the program for the first time for 2023. It's been too long since we've chatted with him from the great 3rd Congressional District down in the state of Oklahoma. It's Congressman Frank Lucas with us here. Congressman, how are you, my friend?
As good as anyone can be expected to be when you're working in the nation's capital. And yes, it has been too long since we've had a conversation, and there's all manner of stuff going on here, from how we organized up for the new session of Congress, the new balances between the two groups on ratios and majorities, the farm bill and appropriations and debt ceilings, and there's just all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, you guys started off with a bang this year for sure. I want to start off with the debt ceiling because the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, set to meet with the Biden administration today to talk about the potential spending cuts versus raising the debt ceiling. The Biden administration says it's a non-starter conversation to even talk about spending cuts. When we've run out of money the 3rd week of the month of January, we still have 9 months to go for our budget for this year. Is there any opportunity that Republicans, that you guys can stand firm, that we can hold our ground, and even if it comes to a potential government shutdown, that we actually stop this madness of just raising the debt ceiling and spending massive amounts of cash?
Well, the situation's so bad that something has to happen. And the first step, of course, is Speaker McCarthy going down and looking President Biden in the eye and making it quite clear that we cannot just continue to spend the way we spent money when Pelosi was Speaker of the House in the last 4 years. We just can't continue to do that. I don't know that I have a great deal of expectations of what have come out of this meeting, but at least the Speaker and the Republican majority of House have compelled, I won't say force, compelled President Biden to acknowledge that we've got to talk about this. Ultimately, what happens is we have to change the trajectory of spending. We cannot continue to operate like this. I don't know what the ultimate terms or agreement will be. I don't know how many days or weeks or months it'll take to get there, but this is a battle worth having. Now, one other thing to remember. The Democrats will say, well, you're limiting our ability to spend money in the future. The debt ceiling is not so much about future spending, it's about covering all the hot checks that have been written in the past. All the money that was spent in the past now has come due, so to speak, to cover. We can't let the government default, because it is protecting Social Security, yes, and it's protecting Medicare, yes, those programs that matter to our older citizens. and our citizens who are at that stage in life where they can't change their lifestyle, they can't change their plans. But it's also making sure we continue to fund defense. It's continue to make sure we continue to fund the Department of Ag programs. But where we are right now is unsustainable. And the fact that President Biden says that we just have to keep this party going, this wild spending party going, is impossible. So go get them, Kevin.
Go get them. That's what we
let's
need.
make a difference, because that's where the future is what we can get done with these people.
Well, the problem is that right now we're spending at 100% of the GDP, so we could take every penny from every man, woman, and child in the private sector just to barely pay off our debts in the nation right now. Just 20 years ago, we just saw that we capped it. We weren't allowed to spend more than 40% of the GDP. Now we're at 100%. If we raise it up even more, we're going to be sitting at near 130, 140% of our GDP in the private sector. That's devastating.
Last time we went through these kind of gyrations, Speaker Boehner was able to negotiate an agreement on capping spending for a 10-year period. That's now expired. We have to get back into some kind of an agreement on limiting overall spending in order to change the trajectory. I've been here long enough that in the late 1990s and right up until the day the terrorist attacked the nation's capital and New York City and brought that plane down in Pennsylvania, we were in the 3.5 years of balanced budget at that point. Thank goodness we had a Republican House and the Senate, a balanced budget. We can get there again. You can't just go in and cut out the 29% that we're spending over, because what that would cause would be a rumble through the economy and through the financial services and with people that's not sustainable. You've got to change the trajectory. You've got to enable people by not increasing their taxes, I'd say reducing their taxes, and restraining regulations or reducing regulations. You've got to let the economy grow, not spend the money, and work your way back into balance. We did that for 3.5 years. Apparently Joe doesn't remember that he was in the Senate when that happened, but that's how you get back there. You can't shock the system. You can't repudiate your obligations, but we can't keep going the way we are right now.
No, we can't. Well, it's okay. He doesn't remember his name half the time anyways either, so I guess we have that going for us. At the same time, let's shift gears slightly to food and agriculture. Obviously, you guys are working on the Farm Bill, which I want to talk about in a second, but the economy obviously still having a devastating effect on food right now. We're seeing eggs at 3-4 times higher than what I've ever seen them be. The inflation just hitting the food market as a whole. Are we going to get better? Do you see some relief in the food market, meat prices, that sort of thing coming up here throughout the year?
You got two problems that have been going on for the last 2.5 years. One was, and I hesitate to even use the word that starts with C, but we had the disruptions in the food processing chains during the COVID mess, when literally you had packing plants shut down for brief periods of time, both beef and pork and poultry. That distorted the supply chain flows. Throw on top of that things like the war in Europe, where Putin has invaded his neighbors in Ukraine, that's driven fertilizer prices and diesel prices berserk and increased the cost of every fundamental chemical input of seed. So you've got dramatically higher prices for producers. You've got a dramatically less stable supply chain for both raw materials and processing, and it's put us in this loop. This is a part of why we have to pass a 23 Farm Bill with a functioning safety net that can meet the challenges of right now, so that we can get back to whatever the new normal is going to be, and prices will stabilize. And oh, by the way, the inflation that's killing people on the farm and at home and in business, what is inflation? I don't care what the White House says. Inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods and services. That's the fundamental definition of inflation, pushing it up. The goods and services will increase as we provide stability and certainty in the economy. We'll have more work done. We'll produce more widgets. We'll produce more pounds of hamburger, more pounds of pork chops, more pounds of chicken. But getting a grip on the spending so you slow down that monetary supply is the other part of bringing it back into balance. I don't care what my liberal colleagues up here say. You can't repeal the laws of supply and demand. You can't make people do things that are not in their best interest, and that's why we're in the situation we are now. Too much money, not enough goods and services, and people trying to protect themselves from this uncertainty.
Yeah, that is very true. I know that last year we had heard news that you guys were a little bit behind on some of the Farm Bill conversations, but now that it's coming up for this year, are we getting ourselves caught back up? And what could we see coming out of this Farm Bill? What drives me nuts is that we always see so much of it going into the Farm Bill, discussing more on the social programs, the SNAP program, that sort of stuff, as opposed to the things that we really need to focus on, which is for the agriculture industry and farmers across the nation.
Absolutely. You had 4 years of Democratic majority in the House. So the focus of the committee was on, I would say simply, they wanted to talk about who could farm and how they should be allowed to farm. That's not how you produce food and fiber. If you're worried about picking who gets to farm and you're concerned about making sure they farm the way the government wants them to farm, that's not productive. That's not in the best interest. That's just not. So with a change in control, we went through some gyrations in the Republican leadership, picking our speaker.
Sure.
It backed us up a couple of months, but under Chairman G.T. Thompson of Pennsylvania on the Ag Committee, and I'm on the Ag Committee this cycle after a little bit of a leave. We're back and moving forward. We're running a couple months behind. The ideal goal would be, as GT has expressed in my presence and many public meetings, is spend the first half of the year doing the hearings to see what worked, what didn't work in the old Farm Bill, to figure out how these new input costs and these new processing issues are affecting production agriculture, real farmers and ranchers out there in the field. Then go into the third quarter, probably July, and try and pass a draft bill. Then in September, if the Senate's done their work, sit down and come up with a conference report working out the differences to have something on the table by the first day of October before the old Farm Bill programs start to unwind. And they don't all quit the same day. Many Farm Bill programs reflect the crop cycle. So depending on whether it's corn or wheat or rice or whatever, the program runs with the crop cycle. So it won't all stop on October 1. Now, that said, we've got to get through the debt ceiling issues.
Yeah.
We've got to make the first pass across the floor with the 12 appropriation bills, the actual bills that fund the various things in the government. We've got to get all that done so we can then focus in the worst-case scenario. And I want to do a new Farm Bill this year because things have changed enough. We need to make adjustments. The world's not the way it was in 2018. But if we can't get there, then we may have to have a short-term or an intermediate extension. I've been around here long enough, and I've fought through enough farm bills that sometimes we've extended a year at a time because, honestly, it's too important. The Farm Bill is just too important, not to just producers, but all consumers.
Yeah.
You got to get it right. A bad Farm Bill is worse than no Farm Bill, and an extension, if that helps us get to a better Farm Bill, is where we have to go. But I just don't know that yet, timing-wise.
There it is. That's Congressman Frank Lucas from the 3rd Congressional District of Oklahoma. We appreciate his time. Now, that interview went way longer than what we had anticipated, so we're going to be uploading the rest of that as a special feature podcast, which you can find with The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites, and you can listen to the rest of it. We went another probably 15, 20 minutes after that because there was so much content talking about the Farm Bill and his being the chairman of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee as we talk about our exploration of the moon, Mars, and even UFOs. Yes, we went there. Why? Because I love talking about it. Back after this.
With Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to The Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring The Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hoosier Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the Voice of Reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like, so you can watch all their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hoosier Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hoosier Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, ourfreedombook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle, as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
Fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out today. Boy, oh boy, does the show fly right on by. Thanks again to Congressman Frank Lucas coming on the program. Yeah, it was when we set up the interview, which we love to get him on every few months and get an update from the ag side of things. Obviously, a lot of rural listeners for the radio program with the affiliates that we have right now as we continue to grow and expand. We love it. And even if you're not and you're in a city, then you know what? You still have to buy food, and the farm bill is a major piece of that one. So they asked, they're like, how long do you want them? Hey, we have a 12-minute segment. Let's do 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, cool. Ended up going for about 25 minutes. because of all the great information. Again, we didn't get to do a lot of that and air it on the show, so we may do a part 2 here in the next couple of days. But if you want to hear the full extent of the interview, unedited and in its entirety, you can go to our podcast at The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser, and on any of your favorite podcasting sites, listen to that, download it, and some really, really great information. And yes, I'm telling you, we did. Probably the only conservative talk radio host in the country that will ever ask a congressman regarding the trip to the moon. So apparently, just to give you a little bit of a teaser, we're planning on going back to the moon. We're planning on some type of international spaceship where people can actually live there and live off planet, and starting civilization on Mars, working with NASA, working with SpaceX, and of course, we had to ask about aliens and UFOs, because who in their right mind would not ask the chair of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee and the plans to work with outer space, not ask them about Mars or about aliens or about UFOs? I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. With regard to the debt ceiling conversation, I am losing more and more optimism that we're going to be able to stop some of this. I'm fearing that this is going to be a political game to where they come to an agreement with Joe Biden about some long-term 10-year plan to try and cut spending over a 10-year plan and slowly change the direction here. No, we've hit the level where we can't do that. We should have done that when we were sitting at about 60% of our GDP worth of debt. That's when we should have changed the directory. That's when we should have slowly converted back. Now we're at the point of no return. And I think most people believe, not to spread fear or doom and gloom, that's just the reality of the fact. We will bankrupt the nation. We will financially collapse this nation unless we do something drastic right now. And by drastic, I mean I love the plan of the fair tax, of getting rid of the IRS, getting rid of federal income tax, going straight sales tax, completely overhauling our spending, and saying we need to have a serious look here. Now, for those that are like, wait a second, Andy, I'm on retirement, I'm on, Medicare or Medicaid, I'm on Social Security right now, I'm on the we can't sustain to lose those. We're not talking about that. And as much as the fear tactics that Democrats have of wanting Republicans to have people die in the streets because they don't care about you, it's a load of crap. It's truly, honestly, it's a load of crap. And we need to let people know about that. Our PR for the Republican Party, our messaging has been horrible. Kevin McCarthy's trying, but he's going through the filters of the mainstream media, which is not going to be fair to him, which is why we still see headlines from like CNN saying that conservative extremism in Washington, D.C. is putting up a stagnant wall and allowing for a lack of conversation and partisan politics that won't allow the debt ceiling to be raised. No more. No more. We got to get that message out through radio, through podcasting, through TV. The problem is that we're seeing more of the conservative outlets being dwindled and being squeezed out of the markets. Obviously, the big news that we've seen from Newsmax over the last few days with, DirecTV that's cutting Newsmax? Why? Now, here's the thing. Congress is coming out saying, we want answers. We want to understand the decision here. It's a private business making a private business decision on wanting to cut Newsmax. Now, ideally, if you're a nonpartisan, if you're a middle-of-the-road news agency or any type of company, then you would say, we're going to put on programming that drives ratings because that creates revenue, and therefore, even if I don't like the political slant that they have, if it's popular and making money, then cool, I'm going to roll with it because I'm making money from it. You want to look at politics? That's the way most politicians are in Washington, D.C. right now. But for a private business, that would be the smart business decision. So DirecTV canceling Newsmax from their options and their channels is either one of two options. Either they're not getting good ratings, which I highly doubt because I've heard from numerous different TV channels and TV stations across the nation that are saying we're getting massive amount of calls. We did not realize how popular this channel was. We're going to fight to try and keep this here. That's option number one. They didn't realize how popular Newsmax was. Or number two, they've hit the level of we're so big that we cannot fail. Therefore, we don't give a crap about your revenue for that channel and your popularity and your ratings for that channel. Therefore, we're going to go the too big to fail and we're too large and we don't care. And now we're going to squeeze out the ideas that we don't want because even if we take a small hit, it's not enough to harm us in any way, shape, or form, which goes back to the idea that we allowed them to do that because while we complain about it, we continue to buy their products. It's up to us to decide which one that is. That does it for us today. Back at it tomorrow for a pre-Friday celebration. Until then, be your own catalyst for change. Be your own voice of reason. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you on the radio. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the voice of reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast, become your own voice of reason, and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com.